How would you feel if you found that you were unable to move freely around your own country? That your home, which may have been in your family's possession for 100 years, was suddenly taken away from you? That your son was forced to live apart from you? And that without trial or justification, you were suddenly put into prison? Well, all these things have happened to our guest today, Ellen Kuzwayo. Known as the mother of Soweto, she represents the plight and struggle of the black women of South Africa. Ellen, would you say, I mean, I said at the beginning of the program, in my introduction to you, that you, in fact, had been imprisoned, detained, without reason. I mean, was it really without reason? I mean, are you a political agitator? Are you a troublemaker? I mean, are you different from a lot of other Africans, that you can't keep your mouth shut, so to speak?
I don't think I'm any different from many people. You see, I think the whole problem in the country is that you are expected to conform, particularly if you are black. You are expected, for some reason or other, I can never understand that just because the pigmentation is different, people expect you not to be sensitive to pain. You know, perhaps not physical pain I'm referring to, but emotional pain, that you shouldn't react if something is wrong. You shouldn't say, but that is not right. And this is me, and this is the number of other people in the community who say, but this is not right. Can you look at us and listen to what we say? Can you see us as human beings? See, the pity is that, unfortunately, the rulers of my country want to hear the things they'd like to hear. They listen to people who speak the language that they would like to hear, to talk about issues in the sense that they would like to hear them. And other people who come along and say, but we see it in this light. If they don't conform to what the government says, then you're called an agitator. And you may well end up in prison. And this is what happened to some of us. I mean, we were people who were concerned about the fact that the local authority that had been in operation up to the time when the children started speaking and acting quite openly in 1976 and saying this is enough. And they said, we want all the machinery that has been established by the government to come to an end in Soweto. And it came to an end. And there was no local authority. And when there was a call that certain people should come together to come and look at this issue, we all came. And in the process, some of us were elected into the committee that had to go and do some feasibility study.
This is black people electing black people,
exactly.
is it?
Yes, it was black people electing black people to say, now go and do some feasibility study about the local authority, its objectives, its functioning, and come and report back to us. And we did that, and they gave us time limit, and we came back within 3 months, and we said, these are our findings. And they said, now you call a meeting. You've done a very good job. Call a meeting of the whole Soweto community and come and make the same report back. And at that level, the government banned the meeting. The second meeting was banned, and the third meeting was banned without being called.
Did they give you a reason for banning it? Did they?
No.
No. And did they think it was some sort of uprising or what? I mean, what would you suspect they thought?
I think your guess would be as good as mine. I wish I could say something, because there was absolutely no indication of any confrontation. We were not even at that stage going to the government. We were trying to look at ourselves as a community and to say to the people in the community, this is how we think. This is the working of the local authority, and these are possibilities that can come out of the feasibility study that we have made. Because I must say the University of Witwatersrand, the libraries were very cooperative. We went there, we got information, and individual people, particularly
white men,
yes,
yeah,
in the legal field, were very willing to talk to us, and they gave us whatever references they could give us, and we came out with something that could have, in another country, maybe the government would have said, hooray, here are people
what
who
good
have come.
initiative.
That's right.
But now then, is that why you were put into prison?
Yes, and finally, I could see no other reason, because that morning they took me in and at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we went, and when I got to the place where everybody was congregating, I found I was the only woman with all young and old men, and as I looked around, I counted the other 9 men who were with me in the, what is still called to this day, Committee of 10. And I realized then that we were taken in because of that Committee of 10.
Mm.
And
then you were detained
for
without
5 months, without trial.
Trial.
For 5 months.
Mm. In bad conditions?
No, because the group that had been ahead of us in detention had really done fantastic work. They had done their homework. They had met the International Red Cross representatives who had spoken to them, and they had told them that, look, you people are in detention under these conditions, and you cannot allow yourself just to be handled any old way. You must be comfortable here. They were sleeping on the floor with mats, and they saw to it that they clamored for beds, they clamored for several things to be for improvements in prison, and they received this. So that's when we got there, there was much more comfort than they had had when they were first detained.
Now, why did you then get? Did the Minister of Justice come to see you in prison?
I up to this day I don't know why, but at least I had to accept what he told me. He said he was coming to release me. He was coming to interview me because they were planning to release me. And that was another story, because we went into a long discussion with the minister. He told me
You're brave when you're faced up to people then, aren't you?
Yes, you see, when you're in a situation like that, I first and foremost, I just didn't know who this man was. I was disturbed that I had to cover up the fear that was in me, because I thought these were police who were going to put me under Section 6.
Which is a very...
you are just messed up in that. And I just didn't think I could stand up to that type of thing. And when the man introduced himself as the minister who was coming to see me, I said, because he was just talking away, and I said, but who is speaking to me? And he said, I'm the minister. I said, Minister of what? He said, I'm the Minister of Justice. So I said, I suddenly thought, what an opportunity for me in prison. And I said to him, I'm very privileged and honored to speak to you. And he turned to me and said, I'm also privileged and honored to speak to you, Mrs. Kuzwayo, as a leading member of Soweto community. And I thought that was cheap mockery. And I said, no Minister of Justice would be privileged and honored to speak to a prisoner. And I said, however, I think we should go on, and I'd like to hear what you've got to tell me. And he told me that he was planning to come and release me, but they were thinking they were going to release me in 3 weeks, but they wanted to come and prepare to put back the school program into functioning. And I thought he was saying to me I was disturbing the school program. And he said he wasn't. I said, but by implication, that's what you're saying. Because he was saying to me, they'll release me and I must go to Cape Town. And meanwhile, they must put the program right. I said, that cannot happen, sir, because unless you think I have a hand in the destruction of the school program. And he said, I didn't say so, but I said, by implication, that's what you mean. And I said, do you realize I'm a widow? Do you realize that I left my employers without any warning? And
they just took you away?
Yes.
And so nobody knew where you were?
Exactly. And I said, and they've just read from the papers that I am detained. And for all I care, I get back, I have no job to go back to. And how else am I going to live? I said, my first duty when I leave prison, the day I'm released, I'm going to my employers to find out if there's a job I'm going back to. And if there is, thank goodness, I'll be very happy. And if I need to go on holiday, I'd sooner see myself go to Durban, to my son who is in Durban, not to Cape Town. Of course.
Is that your son that was taken also away
That's the same young man.
Now, he was taken away from where he lived to put in a strange town away from everybody that he knew. Why? Because he taught people, he was trying to set up a scheme to teach people how to read.
They had set a scheme, and they were doing literacy classes for the people who did not have an opportunity to go back to school.
And is that the only reason why they did that to him?
I know no other.
No.
If there is another reason, it was hidden agenda for us. And this young man was determined, and you see, he had pledged himself to go to all universities, regardless of whether they were white universities or black universities. He felt that all students at university level had to put in their hand to at least teach one black person. You know, they had exactly, they had prepared these literacy classes that and I started saying to him, but they don't know anything about Tswana or about Zulu. I said, that's not important, Mama. The material is so prepared that anybody can make a contribution. And it was when he was going around that I suppose somebody said he is disturbing the peace of the country. And as he went in to register to start doing this, you know, in a very formal way, he was nipped in the bud and he was whisked away to Mafeking. But he was a very strong boy because he refused to go before he saw me.
What is the biggest difficulty that you face as a black person in South Africa? Is that a difficult question to answer? I mean, is it that you can't move around? Is it that families are split by the fact that mothers have to go and work for very, very long hours, leaving children behind? What's the greatest?
I wish I could pinpoint one, but it is the whole conglomeration of that. I mean, if you are a housewife, you have a young child, you hardly, you know, have a proper place where you can place your child that is provided by the community, because even the services for young children in Soweto are the efforts of the community itself. And therefore, because there is no money enough to have sufficient nursery schools, creches, play centers for children of different age groups.
We haven't many here, of course. I mean, still, in a sense. But, I mean, I know it must be much worse.
Yes, exactly. But you have a government that you can talk to. If they don't give you the money, they wouldn't think you're stupid to come and ask for that money.
It's whereas you've got legalized discrimination, is the word you've used in your...
Exactly, and we have got, as a community, to go and take the little bit of money that we have to start putting it together and fundraising and making appeals to maybe to the private sector for money, and to begin to put up different creches. If they're sympathetic, they're sympathetic. If they're not, you don't have one thing where you can force them to give you the money to do the things you'd like to do. And these are the mothers who have got to go to work in the morning as early as 5 o'clock to leave the children in the house, because they've got to augment the income of the husband, who is getting such low salary that they cannot meet the basic needs of the family.
What, just food and clothes? Food
and clothes and schooling for the children, which is very basic in any society. And many black mothers and black families have they've literally made a sacrifice to make sure that their children get education, because they cannot face their children facing the lives that they have faced themselves.
But Helen, what's the future?
This country must be well aware of the reports that come from South Africa about the chaos that is going on within the country all over. And this is as a result of the reaction of the children to the denial of opportunities in that country. And there is no doubt the situation is going to get worse. But I have every belief to believe that at the end of the day, that might begin to bring about change within the country, because I think the authorities are only beginning to notice how angry the black people are because of the deprivation of everything within the country.
I've been very honoured indeed to talk to you today. Thank you very much, Ellen.